Welcome back to Unstuck. Those of you who've, I've been doing this for years and years at this point. Last year we went a little dark on the public sessions. We were doing some just private sessions within the kind of closed community given what was going on last year, but we are back with, so those of you who are new to Unstuck, like I said, I've been running this for years. It's basically conversations. I started this a very long time ago in New York as a private roundtable for clients and entrepreneurs to just explore the kind of human journey of doing big things. We've modified that over the years, and where we are with it is really looking at the intersection between the human journey and the technology journey that we're all in. As those two things merge in the world at an ever rapid pace, we're going to explore that conversation here. We've got some really amazing people coming up. We've got an amazing person today. I want to say real quickly, I don't want to, we're here to talk about, to have a nice conversation, but what I said at the beginning of the concert last night, I want to say again today, it's difficult to imagine having any kind of platform, no matter how small or big, without commenting on what happened last night. And I'm actually not going to comment on it. If you follow me on other media, I've got a lot to say. What I do want to say here is just to acknowledge it, and to acknowledge that from my experience of it and everyone I'm speaking to, beyond whatever else you feel about it, it was and is clearly an individual and collective trauma, a legitimate trauma, and I'd encourage you to take care of yourselves and knock off work, knock off whatever you need to do to take care of yourself during this. So that's all I want to say, is just acknowledge that we all experienced a bit of a trauma yesterday, whatever your personal opinions on it are. Okay, so tonight we have with us Bhatt Detome. How'd I do?
You nailed it.
Did I really?
Yeah, no, you nailed it.
All right. Starting off the year with a kind of in the family, okay? So Kay is the head of education and lead software engineer for our full stack coding school. We use the Holberton curriculum, but we, again, here run that thing as a nonprofit, as a catalyst for social transformation, creating access for traditionally underserved communities. So welcome, Kay.
Well, thanks, Al. I was very honored, that I was the first person. I know you've been doing these Unstuck sessions for a long time, but just, starting it here, I was very honored to be the first person. So I just wanted to mention that to you. I know I never mentioned that to you in person. So that's good. I'm really, really happy today to be able to inspire someone. So yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
That's great. Honored to have you here, man. You are the heartbeat of this place. And so I'm really happy we could start with you. So here's where I want to start, okay. Right? So the topic of this conversation is life code, right? Coding as a means to kind of create yourself. So we'll get to your kind of history and your relationship to coding and all that, but where I want to start with is, what would you say to somebody who not only has never coded before, but doesn't even understand what coding means? What would you say to them about what coding provides access to?
That's a very interesting question, because I've met a lot of people who see what I do, computer programming, and they see me to be this superhero, or this god, or whatever it is. What I'll tell them is, coding is pretty much transforming or transferring us as human beings, bringing it into light, and then basically creating something that is going to have an impact on basically us as people, and the world we live in for good. And I know we can go into the details of that, but it's pretty much bringing the inner humans in us, creating something beautiful for us. And creating a beautiful world we have in there, today.
So what's the beautiful world that's created for you?
Oh, a lot. Everything we do is technology. It's kind of ingrained in every single thing we do. If you look around us, if you wake up in the morning, from the time you wake up in the morning to the time you get home from work, or wherever you basically hang out or do your thing, there's technology all around us, from food to transportation to education. Without that, as humans, we wouldn't advance to the level we've gotten to today. And so, personally, I've gotten to learn, of course, the human side of us. I've gotten to learn the technology side of us, and as a civilization, as a population, whoever we are today, I think it's gone. It's an extension of who we are as humans, for the good, right? Because as humans, we are limited, and technology has basically extended what we can do, and created the world we live in today. Of course, it's not perfect, but without technology, I think we wouldn't get where we are today. Yeah.
So what got you started? You're from Ghana.
Yes.
All right. So did you start coding when you were?
Yeah. So I can go back. So I didn't start coding when I was a kid. Of course, I was very fascinated about technology, video games. We all start somewhere with video games, and we enjoy playing it. And then we get to the point where we want to be able to create these games. So I went to college in Ghana. I studied computer science there for a few years, and then we had to come here. I couldn't transfer all my credits here. That's a story I haven't told you. All my credits here, and so we had to kind of start all over here, which is not a problem because the way I see education is it's a never-ending journey. But the way it started for me was, when I took my first web design class, and it started with a Microsoft Word document of a write-up of basically all these HTML tags, instructions of how to build website. And so I got a hold of that document. I started going step by step. I read the first tag. This is what you would do to be able to create the file itself. This is what you would do to be able to create, or put your name on the web page. And then I followed instructions. I put my name on a white background on a web page. I opened the web page. I saw my name on a white background, and I was blown away. Maybe it's surprising to hear, but then that one moment for me, it started it all. Because growing up, I went to internet cafes. I used a lot of websites, and so to be able to create that gave me a lot of hope and belief in myself that wow, if I can do this in something as little as this, even I can do more. So I kept on going, and then the next moment I put an image on the web page. I was able to put an audio on the web page, and it just I couldn't sleep. I kept on using going through the material. I remember even sleeping, waking up the next morning, and then continuing. It was just for me. I took off from there, and so that was it for me. And from that point, I just kept on going. We got to the United States. We had to start all over, which wasn't a problem. I took advantage of that opportunity, and I learned a lot. And that's where I am today, and I can continue. I'm sure we're going to get there, from my story at Southern all the way to where I am today.
Yeah. So let's stick with Ghana for now. So what's going on around you, right? So you're got this bug around coding. Computer science starts with gaming. I want to make my own games. Computer science, and then what's around you? I am embarrassingly ill-informed about culture in Ghana, society in Ghana. So was that like coding, computer science? Was that like, oh cool, you're going to do that? Was it foreign? Was it?
Yeah, it was. So we had access to all the product, like the end result of technology. We had access to the video games. Right. Of course, we didn't know how to code them. Right. It seemed so good to us, so magical to us. Like playing video games, I remember asking myself, how did they even make that? How did they even make that person move? We didn't know a thing about it, so it seemed so foreign. To be able to use a software, I remember using maybe this Beacon Type and Tutor. I mean, we used it as end users to be able to learn how to type and all that, but seeing it built, we didn't know the ins and out of it. So it's for someone to be able to do that, that person to us looked like God, right? So it was like a prestigious thing to be able to code. Okay. And so that's why, for me, when I was able to create my first web page, I got that feeling that, whoa, I can do something like this.
So did you have curiosity about other things like this? Like before you kind of stumbled onto coding when you were younger, was it like, okay, I don't know, I 6 years old, I see a truck going down the road, and I get really curious about how does the truck work? were you always curious about how things work like that, or was it coding hit for you?
Yeah, so I was very curious about it, but of course I didn't know how it was built. I was curious about the end result, and just wanting to figure out. I remember taking things apart, and that's pretty much every kid, right? Folks who are curious about tech and all that stuff. So at that point I was interested, but I just didn't know the ins and out of it. But then slowly but surely, you figure out something, and then it triggers something in your mind, and you just want to keep going, and you figure it out, right? It takes time, but then each time you find something, it drives you on to move on to the next thing.
So, what I heard you say is that coding, computer science in Ghana, like being able to do that, you were something of a rock star. You were like, it was a celebrity thing to be able to do, yeah?
Of course, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I remember the first time I created a web page, for example. My friends didn't know how to code.
Right.
My friends, they weren't interested in computer science to that point. They used it, but I was. And anytime I'll be able to create something, that today will be considered nothing crazy.
Yeah.
I'm seen as a god. Like today, I'm seen as something else.
Yeah.
Because again, we use the end product, but we just don't know how it's done. And for someone to be able to do it, something that most people use, it just blows them away.
Your experience, why do people get so kind of like, oh my God, about, technology?
I mean, if you never looked into something, it appears mysterious, right? It appears, to be this magical thing. And I think it's a mix of things. It's a mix of misconception. It's a mix of just being aware of it, exposure.
Yeah.
For someone who grew up maybe in a country like America, I mean, they're exposed to so many things. For people like Ghanaians, for example, growing up, we weren't exposed to a lot of things. It's only the fortunate folks who got exposed to computers and all that stuff. So I think one problem is just exposure and having access to some of these things. We didn't even have access to it in the first place. So when you see it, it's like, oh wow. Not to even to talk about going into it and trying to figure out what it is. Like people don't have access to that. So I think that's one side of it. And the other thing is just the misconception that if it came from overseas, then only someone outside can do it.
Interesting.
Right, so it's a mix of all of that
Yeah.
that make it kind of prestigious or magical, whatever it is.
Interesting. Yeah, so I can relate to a similar dynamic in India where, it's this magical thing that came over from America.
Yeah.
And so therefore it's just inherently distant,
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I mean, obviously you work with our students and you work with other students. I think there's an element to that. I mean, it's, for people who are 20 miles away or less, where it's a similar thing. Like they grow up here, but the context in which they're growing up, it still feels like, oh, that comes from over there. Like that's not something I would do, right? Or I could do, or I could, right? You see a similar thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a problem, right? Because again, we all are creative in our own ways. We all have something to contribute. But the thing is, if you have that misconception, it kind of blocks you from even doing anything whatsoever. So you don't even, we don't even discover our own capabilities just because of that, and I think that's so sad.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's where it comes from. Growing up, I saw that a lot, and I think it still exists. Things are changing a little bit, but it's still a problem.
Okay, so let's stay in Ghana. So the technology catches you. There's a perception around you that it comes from somewhere else, but for you, you're just curious. You dive in.
Yep.
So tech has got you, and then Bollywood has got you.
Oh yes.
So tell me about when you first
yes.
told me that Bollywood is big in Ghana. I was like, oh my God. So tell me about what role that plays in the culture.
So on national TV, they show an Indian movie. I think maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Growing up, I grew up on that, and we grew up. If you hear Indian movies, it's a mix of, like I guess, drama and music, and so it was a thing. It got to a point where we even started speaking like Indians, similar to Chinese movies as well.
Yeah.
There was this popular TV show.
Interesting.
Journey to the West,
Yeah.
and so we grew up on that. But Indians and Ghanaians are friends. Yeah, they're like rice and gravy. I grew up on that a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So is there a big Indian population in Ghana, or? Where does that come from?
It's not big, but I have seen some Indians there.
Okay. So even without a big population, kind of Bollywood and Indian food and Indian culture is somehow just stuck.
It was on national TV, so you have no choice. You watch it regardless.
You watch it. Yeah. That's
So,
fascinating.
yeah.
That's fascinating. Okay, so you got Bollywood, you got coding kind of catches your attention. You take some classes. What's family life there? What's social life like?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question because I remember the first time I got to America, it was very, very different for me. I always share the story. So, and I think, anytime I share the story, it explains kind of the social life and like the culture over there. There was one time I was sick. I was sick of malaria, from malaria, and it got me really weak. It was a pretty bad experience. And one of the things that got me through that was the women in my neighborhood. I couldn't go to school, I couldn't take finals. And so I stayed home in bed, and I had these women all of a sudden just, rush in the house. They came with soup, all kinds of soup. Soup made from leaves, corn leaves, and it was really bitter. Yeah. But then they came there, they started singing. They came there singing, and just that warmth alone, encouraging me, you're going to be fine. I think got me through it. It was a pretty bad time, but I say that just to say, the people around us, it's a one big family. And I also say this, like when you misbehave, it's not your parent who is going to put you right. It's an outsider who's going to come and put you right, and then walk off. Not even say anything to your parent. Right in front of your parent, tell you, hey, do not talk to your mother like that. Show respect. Yeah. So it's one big family. People, the community is just it's one huge. Everyone isn't kind of isolated. We are all one in everything we do.
Yeah, listen, I can relate to that too from the Indian experience as well. And again, I tie it back to here, just 10 miles away. Just so the communities, they don't exist as communities in that way. We're kind of in. My life doesn't extend, my family's life doesn't extend beyond my front door, right? And I think that's kind of part of the American disease. Yeah. This sense of isolation is there's so few communities that are, for me, actual communities. Yeah. Where there's a collective stewardship of raising kids and a collective stewardship of everything. Yeah. It's one of the things we try to foster here. It's one of the things you're great at here. Yeah. Is I think the students here really get a sense that it's not just I go to K because I need help on a particular coding problem. Yeah. Right. That it's a kind of community thing.
Yeah. And for me, like I genuinely enjoy their company. I genuinely want to have a conversation versus just give you an answer. Yeah. It's not about giving you an answer. It's about a story. We're one big family here, so. All of that, kind of helps even drill down what I'm sharing to you in a way that is meaningful and in a way that helps you really soak in what I'm talking to you about. But yeah, when I got here the first time, it was very strange seeing everyone in your rooms and you don't see anyone around. Yep. Yeah, so it took me some getting used to. Yeah.
So let's riff on that one because and folks who've heard anything I say, community always pops up. It's a huge thing for me. Yep. I think community is, if I had to name one thing that would be of service in this society, is legitimate communities. I think we have precious little experience of legitimate community, what I would consider community, the kind of thing you're talking about. Yep. Where if I'm sick, the neighbors are coming over and they're we just don't have that here. And I think it's again, if I had to name one thing, right? So take that spin and tell me about your experiences now, whether Ghana here, DAE or Southern or wherever. My sense is, and again, I'm a bit of a foreigner in the land of coders, even though I run this kind of thing here. I'm a bit of a stranger to that world. My sense is though that among coders, among computer scientists, that there's a legitimate sense of community and collaboration. Is that your experience, or am I just kind of reading that into the thing?
No, I think there is, but I think it's different. So, the very first week I got here, as a
Here in
software,
the U.S., not
I mean,
here in Holbert.
Holbert, as
Okay.
a software engineer. So I realized that as part of the students' requirements, you're supposed to use Vim or Emacs, some kind of text editor. If you're not tech savvy, you probably wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But there is a whole
Just to the audience, he told me that he was going to mess with people by just making up acronyms, so that any non-computer science people he was just messing with. So I don't know if that's real or not. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's real. A bit fake, but it's real. But then there's a whole community of people who like Vim and people who like Emacs, and it's like a battle.
Okay.
There's like a church of Vim.
Interesting.
And I believe that there's a church of Emacs too. So I think I think there's a community, some negative, some positive. It's more people trying to, I guess, show off what they've got. I mean, there are some genuine communities out there who are willing to help you. Like Stack Overflow is a good community, but what I don't like is when it starts getting toxic, when people start including ego into the conversation. Because I think the computer science community is going to be great without that. Because it's a learning process. We are all learning. We all have something to contribute. And so if you need help with something, you go ask. But then when I see people bringing ego up or people making people feel bad for what they don't know, it kind of defeats the whole purpose. So there is community, but it's not. I haven't seen a full-fledged community would love that really encourages people to want to code. Occasionally you see what I'm describing, which isn't good. So it exists. It can be better.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, again, my exposure to it is now. Maybe it's deep, but if it's deep, it's narrow and deep, right? So, handful of tech clients, and then here with our professional advisors and with our students, like that's my kind of sample, and I guess that's probably a skewed sample because when I look at our professional advisors, they're all busy people, senior, kind of coders, and yet the level of generosity they have, the level of, sense of wanting to contribute and support, like that's what I'm going off of. But I hear you that the broader community, there's more kind of one-upsmanship and competition that goes on.
Yeah. I've seen that. In my experience, I've seen that. Like I said, for the most part, it's helpful. There are great communities out there where you can get to meet people, learn about their project, and contribute as well to folks who need your help. But I haven't seen one without what I described, and I think we can we can have a community without that. There's some ego. Ego doesn't help at all.
Interesting.
But part of what we're trying to do is to encourage more people to get into tech. To bring the idea so we can continue to create great solutions. And so if that exists, it only drives people away.
So tell me about let's jump around instead of going linear. We'll jump from Ghana all the way to your experience as a teacher, and then maybe work backwards, right? So tell me about what you've seen. So you talk about your experience of kind of getting exposed to coding and what's possible and kind of getting the bug, right? Tell me stories about how you've seen that happen in other people. Like what sparks have you seen the access to coding create for people?
Yeah. So I think that spark doesn't happen until people start feeling that they can do it. Right, because for me, that's how it started. I tried one thing and I realized, whoa, I'm able to create a web page with my name on it. So let's go to Southern, for example. I was in class. I took a programming class at Southern.
Yeah.
I realized most of my friends were struggling with it. There's something I wanted to really learn, so I took it upon myself to study. I took my time. And I realized I was able to solve these projects by taking my time going through it. And so, again, it's the belief that, wow, I can do this. So I created all these projects, put it on my computer. I realized most of my classmates were struggling with it. Some people from Africa, I just wanted to be able to show them that this is possible because I really saw them discouraged. Right. And I'm like, no, this is possible. I wanted to show them. And so I created that YouTube channel that we always talk about to basically show people that if you take your time with it, if you take it step by step, it's possible. And you know, I spent some time with students directly to be able to to show them that. And you know, slowly but surely, you could see from their face, you know, when they get it. Once they start having that belief that this is possible, is when that bug, gets them, and then they take it from there. Yeah. But I think it's a combination of things too. I think it's a combination of like having compassion, when teaching, when helping people. Because again, if people feel discouraged, then they will feel like this is not a thing for them. Like they will be, even if they have a lot to contribute, even if they can do it. So I've seen a bunch of my friends, here at Southern, back in Ghana, family folks, just slowly get it and slowly get excited about it. So yeah, I can go into a few examples, individual examples, but yeah, that YouTube example I gave is one clear case of people starting to believe that this is possible if they take their time with it.
Check out this video. We have like 2.5 million views.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And that wasn't even the goal. Again, the goal for that YouTube channel, first of all, was to put my videos there to show just a few people that hey, something that takes about 10 minutes for software engineers to do. I spent about an hour. My goal was not to show off just what I can do. My goal was to take my time and go through step by step and show you that this is not rocket science. Yeah. We're all capable of doing this. Yeah. And so I got a lot of messages from people saying this was helpful. And honestly, I was overwhelmed. Growing up, I was a bit shy, and so I wasn't used to that. Because even though the intention was not to show off, it felt a bit like that. And so I'm always hesitant anytime I'm showing my YouTube channel. But I got over that because I realized it was helping people. Yeah. And so I let it go, and I said, okay, all right. If you think it's helpful for you, definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah. So check out the YouTube channel. I want to come back to what you were saying before the plug of your YouTube channel. There's an economist, an article from an economist, Schumpeter. I always mispronounce his name, although I've used this article for 30 years. Yeah, he wrote this article back in the 60s called Buddhist Economics, and a wonderful piece, fairly short. It's like a magazine article. But he talks about how, in the West, work is viewed as a means to earn a living only, and maybe to earn a reputation and to earn fame and, et cetera, right? But it's utilitarian. The purpose of work is to acquire things, whether it's money, fame, acknowledgement, whatever. And he says, from a Buddhist perspective, and I think, it's not limited to Buddhism, that the purpose of work is to both channel a set of gifts that an individual has, but more importantly, it is the vehicle by which one develops oneself. One finds oneself, develops oneself, sharpens oneself, et cetera, And I think in education, we just miss that. So much of education has collapsed into this utilitarian. I mean, sometimes I find we fall into it here where we talk about, yes, this will get you a job. Yes, it'll get you a job. It'll get you a great job, high paying. That's all great stuff. Yep. But that's not the core purpose of education and of work, right? It's the kind of thing you're pointing to. It's like through this, I can cultivate myself. I can bring myself further out, right?
Yep. No, I agree with you. Because through technology, of course, I've learned, like a lot of skills to be able to do some really cool stuff. Yeah. But I've also learned like a lot about myself. Because through that, I mean, it's not straightforward, right? While you're learning, you're going to hit a lot of blocks. Yeah. But then you learn about resilience. You learn about not giving up. You learn about ethics, right? Yeah. Because with so much power comes so much responsibility. If you learn a skill, where you can build a software that does all these incredible things, you can also use it for dangerous stuff. Right. And so you get to be able to exercise that, a good part about you. What do I do with this? Do I use it for good or bad? And I think that it not just gives you these skills, but it builds you up as a human being, as a full, well-rounded human being. While doing good at the same time. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one, to frame that for someone in the context of society, I find is sometimes tough. You know, they have to experience it, and that first time they do it, the first time they write a piece of code, the first time they, you know, do. I forget what you said. Your thing was the first thing you did.
Well, the web-page?
Yeah, the webpage. You see,
okay.
when you said I saw my name on the webpage.
Yeah, yeah.
That first time, I remember. Listen, I you know, 80s. I had a Commodore 64. Right.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that once. Yeah.
Coding thing, and I wrote this. You know, I didn't write. I got this like long. You know, it's like a 12-page thing of code to create a bowling simulation. And I entered this code, and then there were like things in there where you had to, you know, figure it out. Like there, you know, it was incomplete code. Right? And the bowling simulation was like it's these X's and you know, making a lane. I mean, just the crudest possible.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many dozens and dozens of hours, you know, spent making that thing. And I'm like 13 or whatever I was. Yeah. And then run. And it's like, my God, I just manifested something. It's indescribable.
You know, I always joke with this. Maybe it's not appropriate on camera, but you know, I say that I don't know what kind of high people get with whatever drug they use. Yeah. I've never tried drugs or anything, but I can guarantee 100% it's the same high I get, because that feeling was something else. You know, I remember the first time, you know, coding a website. I laid in my bed, went through all the instructions, slept, woke up, and continued. And I just didn't want to go anywhere. You know, I like to have fun, like, you know, playing video games and all that, but I didn't want to do anything at that point, because I realized, wow, if I can build a web page and I can build this program, then I can build this and that to help, you know, Ghanaians, right? Because we always outsource things. It's not necessarily bad, but, you know, why do we do that if we can do it as human beings? But it's not just that also, but it's the negative effect it has, right? Because if we always think that we can't do it, then we're never going to grow as people, and that hurts me. You know, that's one thing. That's one of the big things that got me into this role. For example, when people think that they cannot do this, you know, that hurts me physically. I feel pain, and so everything I'm doing here, everything I've done in the past with volunteering, it's really to just let people know that this is for you. What's stopping you? I mean, there's nothing in life that's easy, right? The fact that it's a bit challenging doesn't mean you should stop. There's so much beautiful, like there's so much good around this. There's so much good you can do for yourself, for your family, for people around you, for this world. There's so many solutions people can bring to the table, right? And everyone's unique with the ideas. The fact that people have done it doesn't mean that, you know, that's it. It's done. You know, you are the only person who has, you know, who has that solution, right? Like no one can do it, you know, better than you, right? And so, you know, who knows? I mean, maybe we don't have the cure to cancer fully because, you know, it lies in someone in India who thinks that they can't do this. I think it's super important that we, you know, let everyone play a part here, because ideas aren't with one group of people. It's with everyone, and to come up with the best solution, come up with a great world, come up with just something beautiful. I think it's going to take all of us, and not just some of us. It's I can go ham around this topic, but yes, when people don't believe in themselves, I don't blame them, but at least be open, to the fact that you are special. You can do this, right?
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I want to say amen. Given how much I agree with that. Yeah. We're in a world where the old problems need new solutions, and we have completely new problems that by their nature need new solutions. Yep. And we need new people working on them. We need new mindsets working on them. We need people with such different backgrounds to bring a fundamentally different perspective to issues that have been worked on with the same kinds of person, the same mindsets, right? I don't mean demographically the same, although that happens as well, unfortunately, but the same mindsets. Yeah. We've been working on the same issues for decades and decades, and we desperately need that person in India, in Ghana, in downtown New Haven, who's never been part of the conversation. We need how they think channeled through technology, channeled through computer science, because they're going to have a view on some of the entrenched problems we have that no one has had before.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm with you. It's a big part of I think why we're doing what we're doing, you know?
Yeah. And you don't have to like leave wherever you are. Like if you're into fashion, if you're into sports, wherever you are, technology is there. And there's so much we can do as people. Like, you know, and this is kind of, you know, going away a little bit, but there's this project that I'm following called the Venus Project. It's basically creating a better world using technology.
Okay.
And it's a project I've followed in the past a lot. But
Who's runs the project?
so there's a guy called Jack Fresco. He actually passed, but it's trying to create a world without money, right? And the idea is like
I knew we'd get to Bitcoin eventually. Go ahead.
yeah, we'll get to Bitcoin, but it's like the idea is we have all the resources to be able to take care of every single person in the world, but we don't have all the money to be able to take care of every single person in the world. Let's try to create a resource-based economy. If you take out all the resources from the world and you leave all the money, all the notes, all the coins, there are no resources. Are we going to survive? We're all going to die. But if you take out all the money, all the notes, all the coins, and leave out all the resources, first of all, nothing changes. Everything is still here. And so that's what the project is it's all about. But then the idea is that everything has value. Everything has value. Like whatever you're doing has value. You know, it's not only software engineering, that's the thing. Like you can apply technology in every single thing you do. You know, there's someone who created a scent that healed people from like ailments. You know, I don't know the details about it, but I heard about it. And you know, no one would think, you know, that's a thing. But we never know until we try. We never know until we engage ourselves. And so, you know, we all have a role to play here. Yeah.
So let's talk about Bitcoin. Distributed networks that educate our community on the number of forums. So I'm on this new social app called Clubhouse, which is spectacular. But I'd say easily 20% of the forums on there are something around Bitcoin. Right?
Yeah.
And some of them are nonsense, kind of get rich kind of things, but a lot of them are very thoughtful conversations about the transformative power of Bitcoin the power of Bitcoin to transform so many of the ills around how we've structured society. So for somebody out there who's like got no clue what Bitcoin is or crypto in general, give us the kind of snapshot of this.
Well, so look, Bitcoin is very technical in itself, but when you think about it from the very basic point of view, it's really just digital money, money in the form of data. Right. It's not a physical thing. It's just money, you know, that exists in ones and zeros. Similar to like sending a text message, you know, you can send money to someone through some kind of software or device. So, and I think, you know, people in countries have suffered through governments trying to take advantage of the system, institutions kind of taking away fees from people's hard-earned monies, third-party services or centralized agencies trying to play a part in people's hard-earned money. And so the fact that Bitcoin is decentralized and it doesn't involve any government or any third party, and you own it's like you're your own bank, and it gives people these financial services without having to have a credit score and things like that. All these limitations, I think people, love it because of that. The fact that it's transparent, the fact that you can't print more of it, the fact that it's open source. Like you can pretty much steal. Right. Everything is just transparent. There's so many reasons for people to love Bitcoin.
And there's a finite quantity. There's only a finite quantity of Bitcoin that will ever exist.
Yes, there's a
so
finite.
It's more precious than gold in a certain way.
Yes,
we're still finding more gold. And Elon Musk is out there with a lasso trying to catch an asteroid so he can mine a few $1 trillion worth of gold.
Yeah, and I was telling you, like today he became the world's richest person, not because of Bitcoin, although he owns some Bitcoin too. But yeah, there'll only ever be 21 million Bitcoins, and that's it. But it can be divided into 1/100 millionth of a coin, so it's going to be enough for everyone if there is use case for it. Right now, it's more of a store of value, and there aren't a lot of use cases for it. But
Well,
Eventually,
just in
we'll
the
get there.
last month, we've got, what, is it Goldman and Wells Fargo have started investing in Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Right, so you're seeing institutional, financial institutions, large financial institutions, getting into Bitcoin, which is
Yep.
fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many use cases for it. If McDonald's all of a sudden decides to create their own coin or use Bitcoin, like
Right.
the Bitcoin blockchain, to process fees, all of a sudden they save millions of dollars that they have to pay to Visa or MasterCard to process
PayPal or any of these
each
things,
transaction,
yeah.
right? So it saves them more money. So why not, right?
Yeah.
But they're actually legit, other use cases for Bitcoin now, that we haven't even, realized yet.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, if you create a business, it's available to the entire world versus just your country,
Yeah.
because it's one currency. It's open to everyone.
So it's open, eliminates third-party fees, and it sort of democratizes access to him.
Yes, like you're your own bank.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So tell me about other things you're seeing in technology that have the same effect of kind of flattening the hierarchy, like decentralizing power, distributing power, right? Because that's one of the big social impacts of Bitcoin and crypto in general, is it decentralizes the power associated with currency, right? It no longer can necessarily sits in the hands of third-party agents, banks, et cetera. Yes?
It really is. It's Bitcoin. And
Yeah.
pretty much, it decentralized project. Not just Bitcoin. Like Ethereum is pretty much, it's like a smart contract platforms. It's all of a sudden like you're building these decentralized apps
Right.
on the blockchain that no one controls. Like there are legit softwares that are centralized. Facebook, for example, is centralized, right? And there's been talk of Facebook using our data. There's so much there.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, to be able to create decentralized apps, where not even the creator can kind of mess with the system.
Right.
Everything is open source. All the rules are clear. We all know how the software works. We all know where our data is going. I mean, all of that kind of helps in just describing pretty much what you just mentioned. Bitcoin being the currency side of it, and things like Ethereum being like programming side of it. And there's so many projects being built on blockchains to kind of make it fair for everyone,
Yeah.
and not just advantageous for one group of people.
Right. And tech and coders are at the kind of, heart of working on the applications of this stuff.
Yeah.
I was on another forum, so I'll get your take on, we see each other every day, we never get to actually sit down and talk, so this is great. I was on another forum where GPT-3?
Yes.
So there's a GPT-3 AI, artificial intelligence, that was part of the forum. It was one of the participants. And it was an AMA, it was an Ask Me Anything with this GPT-3 piece of AI. And people were asking it questions about its take on certain trends and, will we have World War III? Are there aliens? Rather unnerving in a certain way. I was up till 3 in the morning on that forum because I was so fascinated. So this is another aspect. I mean, we have students here that work on machine learning. AI is sort of a little beyond that. But same thing, kind of demystify AI and machine learning for us. What's the person who has no clue about what that's about? What would you say?
So that actually reminds me when we had a few folks here who wanted to learn about Overton, and they wanted to actually learn about the same thing. So machine learning, I don't want to make it all technical, but it's pretty much having some kind of object learn about something, but initially not having a clue about it. So all of a sudden, you program something to just move, right? Without knowing there are obstacles in your way, right? So they start moving until they hit an obstacle. At that moment, they know, okay, if I keep doing this, I'm always, gonna hit an obstacle. So they learn to move in another direction, without kind of, inputting all those things to that object, without saying, when you hit an object, move. You have it kind of gather all this data and say, okay, here's where you're starting. I want you to get there. Figure it out. And so it's the process of having that object to learn how to get there, by kind of moving past these obstacles. And as a software engineer, you create kind of the models around it for it to be able to learn all that. But yeah, that what you were describing, I think it's pretty important and interesting. It's dangerous when you think about it too. But our technology, of course, we can tweak it to to do some really really good things. I don't know if you've seen the website where you basically describe what you want as a software, and it comes up with that software for you. So you say, okay, I want a software to be able to order food. You describe it in English, and it basically creates
So there's a piece of machine learning back there that's creating that software for you.
Yes, mixed with a whole other complex, complex tech,
Yeah.
So it's interesting, it's fascinating. But there's so much we can do with it, for good, right?
Yeah.
Of course, people can use it for bad, but we can use that same technology to curb, the bad.
Yeah. So the guys who were this is a group in Brooklyn that's got a kind of exclusive license to this particular AI, and I think they're private foundation funded. And so I asked the question. So there were a couple of hundred people on this forum, and folks who wanted to ask a question were kind of waiting in a queue asking questions. And like I said, there are questions about aliens and questions about geopolitical kind of predictions and all this. And apparently, this AI does this sound right? If what I'm remembering is 1.75 billion transactions per second. Does that sound right? Does that sound high?
No, I mean, with technology, I mean, that's very possible.
Yeah.
Like, these numbers are
the
nothing.
GPT-3 apparently is
Yeah.
latest. Anyway, so I asked it about to what degree will AI in the future lessen or increase the wealth gap between rich and poor nations. All right, and so this thing processes, and the answer it gives me back is that AI should have a flattening effect on the wealth gap between rich and poor nations because the technology will be available to poorer nations over time, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on, right? And I think, okay, the AI is telling me that, who cares? And then I start talking, the guys who are building this thing find the question interesting, and they start talking to me. And one of the things I find really encouraging right now is technology has always been in the hands of MBAs or their equivalent, right? Of business people, right? These guys are not business people. They're running a business, but they're clearly like you. They're technologists. They care about the technology and its impact. And so they start talking about the kind of gates that they want to put in place and the values they want to bring to building out this AI because they're concerned about similar things. So again, I have a narrow slice of data, and I may be seeing what I want to see, but I'm seeing a generation of technologists who have a fairly strong values base. Do you see that in computer science, or is that just wishful thinking on my part?
Yeah, I'm trying to fully grasp what you mean there. Can you shed more light on
the
it?
question I asked the AI?
Yeah. About that last part you just hopped on about a certain group of people.
Yeah, so I'm meeting a lot of folks in. Again, I've worked in tech, but it wasn't the only sector I worked in. These days, I'm spending a lot of time, obviously, with this place, talking to senior folks in tech and entrepreneurs, and I'm seeing an encouraging trend around the people who are working on these sorts of issues, machine learning, AI in particular, are operating not with a business person's set of priorities, but with a refreshingly clear set of personal values about the potential negative impacts of the technology and aspirational positive impacts, particularly around issues of equality and justice and these sorts of things. So again, I'm wondering, in your experience, because you hang out with these folks much more than I do, am I just seeing a narrow slice and I'm seeing what I want to see because I want to be encouraged that these things are in the hands of people who have a real clear set of values, or are you seeing something different in your peers?
I don't know if it's related, but I don't know. We watched the documentary, the Social Dilemma.
Yeah.
Where these employees at Facebook and Google, of course, they work there and they're given instructions of what to build and all that. But then it gets to a point where some of the things they build go against their values, and they kind of, take it upon themselves to kind of spread awareness, or either by quitting and doing something right, that goes with their values.
Yeah.
So I know I do see that happening a lot nowadays, where people are switching more to create these softwares based on their value system. If it goes against what they're told, like for example for profit or whatever it is. Also, back to the point of decentralized apps, I think the more open source projects are, the more people are going to have control. It's not going to be just in the hands of, again, certain people. It's open to the world, so even someone not in America, for example, can take that software and use it for good if it's being used for bad. I don't know if that kind of touched on what you're
No, it does. I mean, there's no direct answer to this. I'm just, again, I'm wanting to be hopeful. So I want to bring the thing kind of full circle, right? Take this last conversation we had, and then back to the kind of original topic we started with, of life code, right? Coding as a means to kind of express yourself, bind yourself, create yourself, right? So what's been your experience of how do you maintain, as a technologist, as a computer scientist, right? How do you maintain your own kind of moral compass? How do you, because you can get excited about the thing, right? Because the thing is so exciting. How do you maintain, or people out there who are wanting to work on this or are working on this, how do you maintain your value system when the thing can just suck you in by how cool it is?
Yeah. I really love this question, Al, and thank you for asking this. So it's, for me, it's a mix of things, right? Because growing up, I grew up as a Christian, right? So there's that side of things, right? I was brought up in a way to do things a certain way that's right, right? So there's that. And growing up, just in my own experience, I've always told myself that in everything I do, I should let love direct me. Actually, just recently, a friend of mine got married, and I've been married for a year. I've just had an anniversary, and this person just texted me and said, "Hey, I'm gonna get married. I need advice." I'm like, "Whoa, okay." So I didn't want to, seem all experienced. I said, "You know what? Just let love lead you in everything you do." And so for me, it's been my religion, and just being a Christian, and just the value system there, and most importantly, love in everything I do. If everything I do, I let love direct me, and it's been the most beautiful thing ever, because it directs me. It directs me on, okay, is this good or bad? How can I take this, and then make it beautiful for someone? So that has pretty much kept me ethical about things, right? Because again, you're right. There's so much. Again, like I said, with more power, more coolness comes, a lot of responsibility. You can use technology for good. I can use technology for good today, but I'm proud to say I haven't been able to do that, because that's not the point. We're not trying to kill each other with technology. We're trying to help each other with technology. And so for me, it's been my religion. And it's been the fact that I let love direct me in everything I do.
Well, I don't think we're going to get any better than that in this conversation. Like, that feels like a period at the end of a sentence. It's beautiful, okay, and it's a perfect embodiment of my, a perfect summary of my experience of you. Just that last piece. That is how you show up, and it's a gift.
Yep.
So we are at the end of our hour. You can get a hold of Kay. I think we popped up the YouTube channel. Oh, there's a question. Okay, what do we got? What is the thing Kay is most excited about in the coming technology? So what are you most excited about in terms of what's coming in technology?
Bitcoin. I'm just kidding.
Bitcoin.
I mean, of course, there's Bitcoin. Which is important. You can look into it, and we can have a side conversation about that. For me, it's just more access. People having more access to technology, right? To the internet, like like a certain population of the world, like the world, have access to like good internet, and there's so much to learn from that alone. There's so much to build. There's so much knowledge from that alone, and so just the fact that more and more people are going to have access to it, like people from Ghana, people from all around the world are going to have access to it, excites me a lot, because then people are going to learn about it. People are going to start looking into it. More people are going to start looking into it, not just a certain group of people. Again, females. I'm talking people who think that this is not for me. It gets me excited. The fact that I can reach more people, I can share some of what I'm talking about to more people, I think it gets me excited a lot. So, because that's where it starts. That's where it starts. Again, if we are not aware of it in the first place, it's always going to be, like a mysterious thing.
Yeah, listen, again, I think it's what we're trying to be up to here in general in this building is again, the jobs are absolutely great, man. We got to get some people, into meaningful careers that they can help their communities, help themselves, absolutely. But the thing that excites me the most is exactly what you're saying. Access is providing access into, because we need those brains. We need those, again, I can't say it any differently than I said previously, so I'll just repeat myself. We need people who think differently about problems that we've tried to solve over and over and are doing a lousy job of. You just got to pay attention to the world right now to see we are doing a lousy job with the same problems over and over and over again. We desperately need to provide access to very, very, very different voices, because they're going to have very, very, very different solutions to these problems we keep banging our heads against the wall on, And so, I think we're in violent agreement, as they say, on that being the exciting part of technology.
Yeah.
And I think technology democratizes access to impact, right? I don't need a big giant company. I don't need a big giant set of resources. I don't need anything. If I can master technology, if I can master coding, to have a really profound impact on the world,
Yeah. Like we all have like unique ideas. We all creative. We all have all these big ideas. I can't tell you how many friends have come to me saying, "Man, I have this great idea." Just 2 days ago, a friend texted me and said, "Hey, do you know how to build an app? I have this great idea." Right. So we all have brilliant ideas, contributions to the world right now. There's no reason that technology has to be the limit, right? You can build it too. You can build it by starting. Like, you don't know that you can do it until you try. But if you don't do it, then that idea is stuck with you. That idea isn't brought up. And like I said, maybe we don't have a true cure for cancer because it's with you, right? Give it a shot. Give it a shot, and you're going to learn a lot from it. I think you're going to learn a lot about yourself, just like we talked about, which is empowering too. It's just a great thing. Not just learning skills, but you're learning about yourself. Being resilient, and just contributing to making this world a better place, right? In the olden days, if we had this case of COVID, we'd have lost a lot more people. I mean, people who we've lost is still sad, but thanks to technology, it's a lot less. Yeah. Maybe because of the ideas you have, in a few years, God forbid, if this happens again, we wouldn't even lose a single life. Just take your part, and function. We can all do this, right? You can do it. That has been my thing. Just pretty much just encouraging people that they can do it. So believe in yourself, and this is not for one group of people. It's for you. It's for me. It's for Al. It's for everyone else. Okay. Cool.
Okay, it is legitimately a gift to know you. It's an honor to work alongside you, and thank you for sharing yourself tonight. You guys have access to his YouTube channel. You can get in touch with him directly. He is insanely generous with his time. Don't take advantage of that. Next week, we have Kevin Gillespie, who is a senior recruiter at Google. We're going to talk about this kind of mythology around places like Google and how that mythology keep exactly what we're talking about here, this providing access, like they are desperate to get more human beings into that system who think differently, right? But the mythology of Google is so big that it creates a barrier, like, oh, I could never get in there, right? And so we're going to talk to, Kevin and I are going to talk about demystifying and just talking about, how desperately those guys want diverse thinkers, how the place isn't some magical, mystical place, and how, I've been at Facebook and Apple for a little while, and, we'll talk about how those places aren't. I think Kevin was also at Apple at one point, so we're talking about how all these big places aren't some big mythology, as Kay's been saying, coding is for everyone, these big places where you can have big, massive impact, they're for everyone too. It's just a matter of understanding what's the work to do to get there, right? So that's next week, and then we got a whole bunch of other great ones coming up. Again, one last time for tonight, thank you, Kay. Deeply appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you all. I appreciate, this opportunity. Anytime that I get an opportunity to share, what I know, it's always an honor and a blessing. If I can touch one person who can go on to further touch other people, it's a win-win for all of us.
All right.
So
It's beautiful. All right. Thank you again. Thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next week.